Hey everyone, it's Katie again. Today I wanted to come on and talk about travel and travel as my teacher. I learned more about people, patience, myself, um, just traveling around the world on buses, on buses, on ferries, airplane rides, street markets, haggling with people. And today I just want to share how traveling really cracked me open and taught me more about myself, connection with other people, and just, you know, the world in general, us as human beings, as opposed to like us as, the nation we're from. So why I think travel is more like real life school is because you're learning everything from science to mathematics to English, or not even English, but just language, everything, problem solving. You can't travel and not have to use your brain and really like use all the skills we learn in school and then some. So, um, growing up in Montana, I had family who traveled overseas and they would talk about their trips and just, funny stories, things they did. Nobody really talked about though how much it changed them. And maybe it didn't change them. I don't know. I just know that um it was like cute stories, but it wasn't like life changing moments. And once I traveled and really realized the world is so much bigger than I ever imagined, and yet sometimes so small, it really just blew my mind to this whole other side of life that some people don't even get to. I mean, um, growing up again in my town, like there's some people who maybe not now, but years ago, like hadn't left, they or we traveled a lot locally. When I was a kid, we traveled a lot. There was a lot of road trips that happened, but like getting on a plane and going to a whole other country is like it's a pretty big deal from where I'm from. I feel like not a ton of people were doing it, especially when we were younger. But as I said before, um Rome and Mexico, my two study abroads, were what really got me traveling. It really got me out of the country. It opened my eyes to just, again, languages, culture, how life was just different and people were different. And the way they moved through the world is different from a lot of people from the United States. And just just navigating through those areas um is hard, and it's not logistically it's difficult. You have to figure out, you need to get from point A to point B, how much it's going to cost, how much that currency translates to like how much in your own currency. So, someone on the street says to you like, "Oh, that'll cost £5." Like if you're in UK, it's like £5, is that $5? Like, not really, sometimes that's $6 US, sometimes it's seven, just depending on the conversion rates. And so you really have to like just know so many different things just to get from point A to point B. Booking a flight, I feel like, is why most people don't travel. It's like they get on the computer, they know they want to go to Rome. I'll just use Rome for as an example. And, 15 different flights show up, even if you're counting from your place, like where you live, sometimes there's four different layovers just to get there because like in Montana, it's like just this the airports are regional, so you always have to get to an international airport, and then sometimes that takes you to the East Coast, and then you get on a flight that gets you to Europe, but it's not Rome, it goes to like Frankfurt, and then you're in Rome. It's like you have three layovers, and I feel like a lot of people kind of quit at that point because it's a lot. It's a lot to think about. It's a lot of planning that goes into it. It's a lot of organization skills. Um, when you're booking hotels, sometimes you have to message the hotel because you want to know like, hey, what's the easiest way to get a taxi? What's the easiest way to get to you? Because sometimes it's not always a taxi. Sometimes they're like, from the airport, get on a train and then get off at this stop and then get a taxi. And so that's just stuff you don't learn in school. Again, it's like organizational skills, logistics, um, the money, like how what the currency you're traveling to translates to like the currency you're used to. And so I really got to dip my toes in Rome and in Mexico because, like I said, our teachers handed all the logistics. And of course, the currency stuff, like if I went to buy something, I had to kind of figure that part out. But and ordering food, like, food in a different language can mean different things. It might look like um well, just like spaghetti bolognese, like not a lot of people know that that's like spaghetti with meat sauce or and just that part of travel, I forget now that I've done it so much, I forget that sometimes the simplest of things will keep you from, again, getting on that flight because it's a lot. And really, Thailand was probably, well, I went to Bali first. That's where I learned how to scuba dive. And that was really eye-opening. And I depended a lot on the person I was traveling with. I depended on a lot on them. I'm a very like go with the flow. Yeah, it's fine, whatever, we'll do it. And I think that's an important thing to have. But there's also times in travel where you need to make a decision. You need to be like, no, I'm not getting on this train today because it's pouring rain. I'll get on the train tomorrow. But I also believe that me being so go with the flow is big in travel because there's days where you just cannot control anything. So going back to like Bali and Thailand, the culture is so different. Um, Bali is mainly a Hindu religious culture, and and then Thailand's, I want to say predominantly Buddhist, but there is Muslim, um, more in like the south of Thailand, but it's all over. I mean, there's different religions all over, but when you talk about like, for example, the United States, I want to say is like mainly Christian, um, even though there's also Mormon and Jehovah's Witness, which is like what I'm used to in Montana, right? Jehovah's Witness, Mormons, Christians. So coming to a country where it's like Buddhist, Muslim, it's totally different. The way they move through their day is different. In the mornings, they're giving offerings to their gods, and it's usually like these beautiful things made out of leaves and flowers, and then there's some food in there. There's like a drink, an alcohol, like it's and that's their daily routine. And I never really saw that. Where I'm from, we went to church on Sunday, and that was like that was kind of the most of expressing our religious beliefs. And really with different cultures and different religions, you also get um actually I don't want to say that. Um Kind of wherever you go, like kindness is key. And I feel that I've always been a kind person. I've had my moments where I wasn't the nicest, but one skill or one, I guess, just character trait of mine that's really helped me traveling is just being kind. Most anyone I've met traveling, whether it's a bus driver, someone helping people get on the right train, um, flight attendants, someone in a restaurant, every place is different and the service is going to be different. The language barrier is there. And so just having a smile on your face and being kind can move mountains. Like people are so much more willing to do something for you if you approach them with kindness and respect and generosity than like, the I used to get this in restaurants. Like they would come, they would order something and it didn't come out right away or it came out wrong and they're like, I didn't order this. You need to take it back. I want to talk to your manager. Wait, wait, wait. Those are the people nobody wants to help. I'm sorry, but like nobody wants to help you, whether it's in America, whether it's in Mexico, whether it's in Thailand, like people like that, nobody wants to deal with you. And coming to these different countries, most of the people you see at restaurants, you see, flying, you see at the train station, the buses, everywhere. None of them really act like that. Like, I don't know if that's an American thing or what, but man, like, kindness will go so far. People will go out of their way for you if you just approach them again with like kindness and respect. And that's that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned. Um, Also, just connection, asking about someone. When you meet someone, I feel like I feel like in places like this, the more I find out about someone, whether it's my dive guide on a dive boat or the front desk person at a hotel, the more questions I ask and the more I get to know them about like their life and their family, it's like their face lights up. They become like a whole different person. It's not about customer service anymore. They like I just genuinely want to know about their life and they share and they love it and then all of a sudden there's this connection and I've made some pretty cool friendships and connections just by asking a few questions, not about the hotel, not about the train, not about anything, like how are you today? They're like, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm whatever, again, they're kind, but they're just like, oh, I'm good, thanks. It's like, yeah, so how long have you lived here? um Whatever, like, do you have family, do you have kids, like what keeps you going every day? And like those are the kind of connections I've made traveling that are so much deeper than some of these surface level things where it's like, oh, nice weather today, or what can I get from you? It's like I don't want anything from this person. I genuinely want to know about their life. And so I feel like the connections I've made during travel have been so much deeper and richer just because I just genuinely want to know about people and I want to know about their culture. I want to know uh, where they grew up and like how they got to Bangkok. Like they came from a small town, and now they live in Bangkok. And like, how did they get there? What drove them to come to Bangkok? And that's where like a lot of cultural differences come from. Is a lot of these people, I shouldn't say these people, a lot of people you meet, especially in like the service hospitality industry, they're all from like faraway places and they're here in the bigger cities working as taxi drivers or in the hotels, restaurants, because they're making money for the whole family and they're sending it back home. And it's like, and they're so happy about it. They're like happy to be supporting their family and being able to have a good job and I feel like that's a lot different from back home, like the measure of success in other countries is like quality of life, like they enjoy their jobs, they enjoy their friends, they enjoy visiting their family a couple times a year. They enjoy sending money back home. Like they enjoy giving offerings to their gods every morning. And it's like learning in my travels that presence is key. Being present in the moment is, worth its weight in gold. And so much of I feel like where I came from and how I was brought up was like it's like go, 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 do, you got to produce more, you got to move fast, you got to be successful, make money, never take a break, never take a break. And then you come to some of these countries and like half the day is a break, and it's beautiful. It shouldn't be like work, like grind, grind, grind until you can't grind anymore and then you friggin' die of a heart attack because you're worn out, It's like so much of these other cultures is about enjoying life, being present in the moment. And I really learned that not everything we were taught when we were young, like this production minded work until you're 65 mindset. It's like again, I said this, I think in episode 1, some people don't make it to retirement, So when I started traveling and really starting to meet people and make connections and learning about people's lives and their days, I realized like the the quality of life is so different, It's staying present, it's staying kind, it's helping helping your neighbor, helping this tourist girl who can't find her way, around the city block, like showing her where where the taxi stand is and helping her get a taxi. I mean, oh my God, like sometimes people are so scared of like, oh, they took advantage of me. Funny story. I had friends come and visit me in Thailand in like the off seasons when I was working in Jackson, I'd come to Thailand in the off season and then people would plan their trips to come meet me here and then we'd go diving and do all this other stuff. So I was acting as like kind of a tour guide-ish, dive instructor, tour guide, and kind of telling them how to do everything. Well, there was several times where people got off the flight in Bangkok, they got a taxi. I kind of told them like step by step what to do. And granted, like my way isn't always the best way, but it was how I knew how to do it. But there was someone who got to Thailand and like they got in late that night. I think they called me early the next morning. They're like, I got ripped off. And they were so mad. And I'm like, what do you mean you got ripped off? They're like, oh, I got a taxi and he charged me, I think it was 1,000 baht, maybe, maybe, no, yeah, I think it was 1,000 baht, which is like roughly 30 US dollars. And granted, the taxi ride from the airport to the hotel, I think they stayed in the hotel I recommended, is about a 45-minute to an hour drive with traffic. And they were just so angry that they got ripped off. And I'm like, okay, I realize, yes, the taxi should not have been that much money. It should have been about half. However, can we just put it in perspective for a minute? If you had had an hour taxi ride in New York City, and so yes, I'm comparing Bangkok to New York City, like in size, in everything. How much would that taxi ride have been? And they're like, I don't know, $100. And I'm like, okay. And you spent 30. I'm like, let's count this as a win. You know, it could have been a lot worse. And it's just things like that, little lessons, little like reframes on like how good we have it, you know, to be able, especially on a US passport, to be able to travel to the places we can travel and to have enough money to like weave our way through the country. And yeah, we get ripped off every once in a while by like a taxi or instead of paying, you know, $1 for a piece of fruit, we pay $1.50, you know, because we're from a different country. I mean, it's think about it as like, well, I paid 50 cents more for that piece of fruit, but guess what? That woman, you know, can feed her 4 children back home or whatever, you know, like there's so many lessons and just being humble about it and generous and instead of feeling like you know you're getting ripped off it's like think about like how many people got to how many more meals they got that month just because you know you paid extra for something um and then just I don't just having so another big lesson I learned in that respect is like having gratitude for all the things and people I have in my life. And I think sometimes we lose touch with that when we kind of get in that day-to-day grind, that 9 to 5 job, you know, I know I have lost sight and I've lost I won't say lost gratitude, but it's like when I'm in a certain place for a long time, especially I've been in beautiful places, suddenly like I'm not noticing the mountains anymore. You know, I'm too like in the thick of it to be grateful for the places I'm in or the things I'm doing or the people I'm meeting. And that's where travel has been so good for me because I get to leave and experience something new and be so grateful for that experience. And I also get to come back to a place that I know and I love, and I get to be grateful again for this beautiful place that I get to call home. And that's one thing that I've always strived for ever since I started traveling is being able to call multiple places home. And a lot of that is less about the place and the structure, the building, and it's more about the people. And again, going back to making those connections and just being so grateful that I have been able to meet so many people from so many different countries and backgrounds and learn about their life and their beliefs and their families and their culture has been has just changed me forever, forever. And I just I just know that um I sorry, I thought of this story, like one of the biggest stories that changed me early on is you know, I always want to be in like control of things and I want to plan everything ahead and I want to like make sure at least back then I wanted to make sure, you know, I had the flight booked, I had the hotels booked in advance, I had the transport booked in advance, you know, like my first few trips like even with friends or even solo like I felt like I had to have all these plans. And so the one trip that just like blew my mind and changed all that was when I had to make a trip. I was in Thailand. I had to go to Malaysia and I was supposed to go with a group of people. And I got to the mainland. I went from Koh Tao, which is an island in the Gulf of Thailand. I'm not sure if I really talked much about Thailand, but it's an island in the Gulf of Thailand. Tons of divers, tons of like backpackers. Um, it's a big go-to site in Thailand because of the diving. It's incredible. Lots of dive sites in like just around this island. So easy to get to. So anyway, I was supposed to meet this group on the mainland. So I take a ferry, I get there, and so it was like group travel. So it was everything was planned out for me. I didn't have to plan anything. I just had to meet up with this group. Well, I end up at the wrong pier. And they had said explicitly in like the instructions, like if you're not at this pier, we don't wait for you. And I made sure, I made sure before I left, I was like, did I book to the right pier? This boat that I'm taking, am I going to the right pier? And everyone I talked to was like, yeah, yeah, you're going to the right pier. I shouldn't say everyone. I probably asked like one or two people. And they're like, yeah, yeah, you'll be fine. So I get to the pier, like I'm early, and then the time for like the group to meet, and I thought for sure I'd see a couple people from the group like coming on the same ferry. Well, people keep leaving in transports, and another group comes to get on the ferry to go to the islands. And all of a sudden I'm like one of the only people there, and I'm like, okay. And the person who like was in charge of the bus that was meeting everyone calls me and he's like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm at the pier." And he's like, "You're at the wrong pier." And I'm like, no, I totally messed it all up. And like I said, in the directions, we will not wait for you. So I was like, please wait for me. I'll get a taxi. I'll be right there. He's like, nope, we're not waiting. We're leaving. So I'm sitting at a pier in the middle of Thailand. This was one of my first trips to Thailand. Maybe it was my first trip to Thailand. And I call a friend and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And he gives me step-by-step instructions, like get a taxi to the train, take a train to this stop, cross the border, take a motorbike or a taxi to, a hotel, and you'll be fine. And I'm like, okay. So that was the first trip I learned, like, okay, instead of getting stressed about the big picture, right? Let's take it one step at a time. So I got the taxi to the train station. I booked the train ticket to wherever I was going. And like, I'm on the train and I'm like kind of stressed. And I'm like, how am I going to do this? And then, I just kept following the instructions. And the one thing that the person said to me was just smile. Wherever you go, just smile. Just be kind and smile. And I feel like I've always sort of been this person, but when I get stressed, I definitely get like this grumpy face and I'm like, what's happening? So I probably looked like an idiot because I'm just walking around like, I know what I'm doing, I swear. Just a big smile on my face. Anytime I had to ask for directions or help or anything along the way, I was like, hi, can you please help me? And of course, there's a language barrier. Of course, it's going to be difficult, but everyone was so kind to me. Everyone helped me out. Like, it was just eye-opening because, I feel like growing up, people are like, "Oh God, you don't want to get stranded in another country. Like it's the worst thing that could happen to you." And basically, this horror story that I've been told my whole life is happening in real time. And I'm like, "Oh God, like am I gonna make it? Like something's gonna happen to me. I don't even know." Like could, catastrophic thinking is going on, and honestly, like just smiling and asking for help, it was so easy. So I get to Malaysia, spend a couple days. I make friends with like these ladies at the front desk of the hotel I stay at who are Muslim. So I got to ask them kind of about their religion and what they do and their family members and where they live. And we actually kind of, I don't know if I ever got their contact information, but she actually asked me if I wanted to come to their home and like basically they would I would be their guest and they would show me like the dishes they eat and where they live and all this stuff. And I truly felt like safe and it felt like such a lovely experience. And I should have taken them up on that offer. And unfortunately, I think I had already booked my train to get back. And so, I had to politely decline, which I think looking back that I should have just said yes and like changed the train ticket. I think that would have been such a super experience to see that family in and experience their culture, experience more of their culture and their family. But anyway, I get back on the train and I just remember the whole ride back, and it's a long train ride. I'm talking like, I don't know, it was probably like a 10-hour train ride. I was so euphoric because I did it. I did it all by myself. And just the confidence I gained from that and the like I keep talking about kindness, but the kindness was genuine. However, it was stressful the first half of the trip, but once coming back, I mean, the kindness just flowed out of me because I was so grateful for the experience and the confidence I gained and the people I met. And that that was like my first real, I mean, I kind of solo traveled to Thailand and got around like to Koh Tao by myself, but this was like my first real solo travel and just figuring it out as I went. And that part was so beautiful. And it's funny now because now I'm very much like, sometimes I'll book a hotel room, like literally as I'm on the bus on the way to the next place, I'm booking the hotel room, which I'm so grateful that I have that confidence and that peace of mind. And like school didn't teach me that. Like school didn't teach me how to, you know, logistically get from what, I mean, yes, they did, but this whole experience taught me way more about like myself and life and other people. And I can't, I don't know how else to express like all these things I've learned just from traveling. And any fears I had, listening to my intuition has been key in traveling. Um, and yeah. I was just thinking of how I said now sometimes I book a hotel like on my way to the destination, like an hour before I'm supposed to get there. That has put me in some pretty like hairy situations, like nothing unsafe, but just not not the cleanest of places or um, maybe, and I'm not gonna say not the best neighborhood. Again, I've always felt safe, but kind of just there's has been a few times where I've gotten somewhere and I'm like, what did I book? Like, what is happening? But those make for the best stories, right? Like as long as you feel safe and and you can rest your head on a bed, like I mean, I feel like that's winning. Maybe not for everyone. Um, so yeah, I just want to make sure like I have some bullet points. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. But I I hope that these stories were fun for you. And hopefully I've talked you into traveling and not out of traveling, especially with my stories of like being not stranded in Thailand, but definitely having to figure that out. And yeah, just I do want to focus on like that trip I was just talking about, how I was supposed to go with a group and I ended up going alone. There's so many beautiful aspects of traveling with a group, and I've seen people make lifelong friends traveling with a group, and I just I love group travel, especially for diving, because a lot of times I'm like the solo travel or the solo diver girl that doesn't know anyone. Or maybe I know one or two people and then the rest of the boat, maybe they all know each other, but um, traveling in those group environments is so special because there's almost always one or two people that you're just going to meet and you connect right away. And that to me is like just pure gold, those connections that you can make. And then conversely, with solo travel, sometimes it's almost better to travel solo because you end up sometimes meeting more people because when you're with a group of people, you tend to not talk to other people because you're just talking amongst yourselves in your own group. And so I've noticed sometimes my best solo travels, I've met more, especially the locals, because I don't have anyone else to talk to. So I can, and it's fine. Like I have meals by myself, I read a book, like I'm great by myself. And I feel like I've also learned that from travel. Like sometimes you eat meals alone or you travel alone, but like there's always someone you can like meet or talk to if you want to. And then um, with group travel, sometimes, yeah, you're not meeting new people unless sometimes, you get a good group of people where you have those extroverts that like everywhere so you go in as a group, but any person they see, they like start making friends with. So it's really good if you're in a group environment like that and you want to still meet other people. Either you have to be the extrovert and just, you know, start talking to other people, or hopefully you have an extrovert in your group. Because yeah, sometimes traveling with a group can be a little harder to meet other people. Or even practicing a language. I've noticed I practice my languages better when there's no one else around that speaks English. So when I was in Mexico on that study abroad, there was a group of us students and we all spoke English. But I was saying the homestays were great because when I was at home, like in the evenings having a meal um, with the woman that I was staying with, I got to practice my Spanish because I mean, she spoke some English, but Spanish was her native tongue and I was supposed to be learning it. So we just talked in Spanish and I practiced and I practiced and I practiced. And that I realized like, if I really want to learn a language or a culture, I have to really immerse myself in it. It's if you're going with a group of people that all speak English and none of you are like making friends outside the group, um, it's easy to fall in those old habits of just kind of sticking together and speaking your own language. So that's a good lesson. Like if you're really wanting to immerse yourself in a culture or learn a new language, you might want to consider traveling solo, or even if you're traveling with a group of people, make sure you're spending a lot of time with the locals and making sure you're talking in their language so you can learn the language and things like that. So, yeah, I I hope that this really inspires you to do some travel and even traveling locally. I think sometimes, especially in the 9 to 5 grind, we forget that like an hour drive away or in some of the bigger cities, you might be able to take a train ride. I know I said that like that's only in Europe, but I realized the other day I said that and then I was like, wait, in like California, New York, you can go from city to city on a train. So anyway, uh yeah, even just traveling locally or even just when I worked in a Mexican restaurant in Montana and just getting to know a lot of the guys that worked there that were from Mexico. I mean, seriously, like I've learned so much just from meeting people from different places. So yeah, I think that, I think that the next like logical step that we're going to take in this little conversation, nobody taught me this, is about money and kind of mindset. So we'll talk about that on the next episode, especially when you're traveling, like you're kind of doing you have to like do conversions in your head and stuff. So yeah, I think we'll touch a little bit on some money and then mindsets around money on the next episode. So thanks for watching.